A letter to white America. For those who would choose fear, hate, or violence of any kind. For those who remain silent, and those with the luxury of being surprised. I write this not as a plea to recognize the value of my life, or to ask you to consider your privilege, but to, in a sense, acknowledge you. Over the past few weeks, I've ruminated on what it means to be free in America. After watching video upon video upon video of Black people being harassed and assaulted by white men and women for no apparent reason, or certainly not one that warranted a life being taken or being threatened by a police force you know is meant to harm us, I began to wonder what it would feel like to be so easily agitated by the mere existence of a Black person, or any person of color for that matter. I wondered what has to be the root cause of such unprovoked anger and rage, eagerly waiting right below the surface of your thinly veiled good intentions. What is it that makes our unarmed presence something from which you need to defend yourself? And it was in that moment of meditation that I discovered I do not possess such a burden of fear or anger towards any human, enough that I could forget myself, forget my morals, and forget the sanctity of life. Yes, I have experienced levels of anxiety the few times I've been in situations where my life was arguably at risk, but that is a natural response to real danger. Not an unarmed child with a bag of Skittles. Not an unarmed man with a bad $20 bill or loose cigarettes. Not an unarmed bird watcher. Not an unarmed woman in her own home. Not a peaceful protest, and certainly not an entire race of people. I wanted to understand how someone can hate that much. So much so that they can justify the stealing of land, of life, of liberty, and trust in a system you know is created to hinder the success and advancement of Black people. I know you know this because I have yet to meet a white person who would trade their life to be a Black person in America today, despite the shameless appropriation of our culture. It has been said that how you treat others most accurately reflects how you treat yourself. If this is true, when did you begin hating yourself? When did you begin to suppress your humanity? What happened that made you feel victimized? What violence did you experience that made you inflicted on others, and who told you you were right? It must be horrible to live with all of that unprovoked anger and fear of the other. It has to be exhausting to be so easily angered by the existence of people your ancestors brought against their will. It must feel so restricting to have a scarcity mindset so strong that even with all of the opportunities and access in the world, you still feel that there isn't enough for all of us, or that by acknowledging someone else's life that it somehow means yours can no longer matter. And it's for this that my heart goes out to you, as it does to all imprisoned beings. The more I sit with this, the more significant the realization that I'm not burdened with the fear of change or greed, nor am I shackled by old paradigms. And it makes me wonder if it's not our freedom we're fighting for. Perhaps we are fighting for you to wake up from the hideous lie that is the American dream. Perhaps we are fighting to release you from your terror, your rage, your ignorance, because it's the only thing holding you back from this bold new world we are marching into. We are not begging for you to see us, but announcing that change is here, whether you are prepared or not. We have given you plenty and asked for so little in return. But we will not do unto you as you have done to us. We are not calling for your complete eradication or to oppress you. though it would be argued that it could be fair. We are calling for peace and unity and equal access to live, to breathe, and to be, all things from which you lose nothing. And I promise, the grass is far greener on this side. I must also acknowledge that it is because of you, certainly not from, that we have learned we are perseverant beyond measure, adaptable with ease, and not easily broken. Under the oppression and fire of a system built to hammer our people, we have been shaped not into the wounded rabid animals you would perceive us as in the media, but into brilliant diamonds and very sharp swords. We are strong, we are resilient, and we have a voice that will not be silenced. Logically, I understand that you're scared of change. You never had to overcome a world against you, so this must feel undoubtedly unpleasant and chafe a bit. But you also never had to sing spirituals to keep hope and faith, to code switch to be understood and taken seriously, to cry over the relentless slaughtering of your people for centuries with no reprieve. After all, you never learned to walk because we were always carrying you. So yes, I can comprehend how it would be a seemingly daunting and uncomfortable task for you to now have to assess your baggage and carry your own burden. This is not an easy letter for me to write. And I have a lot of work to do in the way of forgiving you and your ancestors. And to be completely honest, I may never. But I still feel it is worth acknowledging the possibility that perhaps you are hurting too, albeit differently. We were all lied to, after all. You were told that you were better, and we were told that we were not. Although I find it disgusting and deplorable the actions taken against us, I am grateful for the grace and the majesty that we have reflected, for it may be our biggest act of rebellion yet. Now, we have generously shown you to the watering hole, but it is no longer, nor has it ever been, our responsibility to teach you to drink. And should you refuse to share this water, this life with us, that is okay. We will still be here, joyful, satiated, and free. Blessings on your path, but may the odds be ever in our favor. All of the best, Ashley.